So maybe we could shift a little bit into talking about uh, kids and youth as it comes to social media or in general. Um, do you
Yeah,
feel like
I
you have
think,
any helpful things for that?
yeah, and I think it's so important to talk about again with grace and respect for one another because I think a lot of parents are wanting support. They're wanting to have conversations, but they feel like, oh my gosh, I can't say this because I don't know the answer. Or like I don't know what to do for my kid. But I just like want to encourage parents, adults that are in kids' lives, like keep having conversations with the other adults in your life from from a standpoint of giving grace, receiving grace, and allowing
Mm.
yourself to be both all of those things. But yeah, particularly with young people, they're just so malleable. They're so everything that they see, they take in, and they're like, oh, do I need to be doing that? Or this person has that, and I think I need to do that. And oftentimes they're seeing things for the first time, and as the adults in their life, we get to help them understand what that is, right? And one of the things I like to say to my kids in particular, and then to other parents, is like, remind your kids that, like, there's nothing under the sun that you're not aware of from an adult perspective. So, like, keep encouraging your kids to come to you, to ask questions. Uh, and if they don't know what's going on, you two can figure it out together, right? But in the arena of comparisons and kids really, they really get into that, right? School is starting now. They're going to come home and say, well, so and so has these shoes and this backpack, and why don't I? Do I need that even? What, or they've got a phone and I don't have a phone. My parents say I don't need a phone. Lots of phone talk, lots of technology talk. And again, I think it's just really important as the adults in that child's life is that you are confident in your stance, but you communicate to them that the guidelines are there because you love them and you care for them and you're responsible for raising them into being adults, right? So like there's this saying, we're not in the business of raising up happy kids. We're in the business of raising happy adults. And we know that adults get to where they need to be when they have loving boundaries set for them. So that's a little side trail, but I think it all kind of works together in like the fact that helping kids understand when they start to compare themselves to other kids or things that they see on TV, movies, maybe social media, if they have, some of that in their lives, is to help them remember that, again, some of the stuff is not real, right? And so we want to be able to bring that truth into life with them. And then also some of the stuff doesn't actually matter. So like focusing on the things that really matter in your life, um, that you are a kind human. If your family is Bible believing, Christ believing, you are a child of God, you are loved. And these are the things that you need to focus on, uh, and helping them find healthy avenues for taking in maybe, what are the people around me doing and how do I grow in that or how do I, um, develop myself in that. I just think it's, again, the parent, you can guide them. They need our help to get to
So
where they need to be.
are there questions that you can ask that you feel like are helpful to provide that framework of either processing or figuring out maybe
Hmm.
even if that's something that your child or kid that you're mentoring is struggling with?
Yeah, I think, and like you said at the beginning of this, so Pastor Forrest talked about some of this a couple weeks ago, and he really brought in the aspect of gratitude, right? So if we can ground ourselves in what we have and what's going on for us in the day, and bringing in, two kids, like, well, let's think about what we have today, and let's be thankful for those things, and let's write them down and just be aware of what we have. That can be really helpful for kids. And then also, like when they're taking in things and they're not really sure what's going on, or they're comparing and saying, I need this, I need that, you can really talk to them and say, well, what do you think you need that for? Like, what do you think the purpose of that person doing that is? Um, because I have some thoughts and some opinions, and let's kind of, yeah, talk through some of that together.
Mm. I imagine there's got to be an element that, I mean, kids are listening all the time, right? I've heard so many parents tell me that, like my kids were listening even when I was like, oh, why were they listening to me say that thing? How'd they learn that new word?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I imagine that there's a lot of, and I don't mean this in a way to like, put more on parents, because I know parents are always doing the best, absolute best they can. They want the best for their children, and they're doing everything they can. And, but at the same time, I feel like there's an element of the way that you talk around your kids, or even just the way you process your own challenges of comparison. Is there some idea that like this is something that you really do need to like be working on for yourself as well, rather than just trying to instill it upon your kids?
Oh, yes. I'm so thankful you brought that up, because I think that is 100% the best place to start. I think that's the goal, right? Is that our kids see us, or the children in our lives who we know we have influence over. They see us, how we respond to others. They see how we maybe use social media, and they see how we use movies and that sort of thing. And that is the easiest way that kids learn, is right. They are watching the adults in their life. And so if you can embrace that and say like, yeah, the way I'm going to talk to other people, the way I'm going to interact with my phone, the way I'm going to interact with my colleagues or my family, my siblings, I'm going to treat them with respect and love them. And then from a comparison standpoint, right, as an adult, I'm going to observe what others are doing, and I'm going to be thankful for how God made them, and thankful for what they are doing and what they are pursuing in their life, and not necessarily feel like I need to do that, but I'm going to support them. I'm going to talk about how cool it is, the things that they're doing. And I think that can be a great example for kids. I know a couple of our kids are really competitive, like fiercely competitive, almost about everything. And I do think that, you know, there is something healthy about competition, right? It fuels us to want to be better. It fuels us on sports teams, even professionally sometimes. But it can, again, there's this fine line of what is healthy with this competition and what then becomes unhealthy. And so that's another thing I think that is good to talk with kids about, in kind of in this same, you know, comparison, competition, conversation. And how are we as adults like representing that in a healthy way to them, can really be effective and powerful, I think.
That's really good. I feel like I feel like competitiveness is a value that's highly valued, or a characteristic that's really highly valued. And I mean, particularly, I mean, you see it so often in the world of sports, which I think often, you know, athletes are put up on a pedestal as role models. And at times that can be a really helpful, great thing. And at times it can, I don't want to say backfire, but can backfire, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where there's so much emphasis placed on competitiveness and being better. And there's got to be a line where that just becomes more hurtful than it is helpful.
Yeah, and I think even when we use terms like being better or do better, like it works more effectively to define that. Well, what does be better mean, right? Like, and we're constantly doing that in our household of like, well, no, you got to do it better. Okay, but what does do better mean? What does that look like? Well, it means that you're going to take initiative to unload the dishes, or you're going to take initiative, right? And so anytime we can be very clear about what that is, I think can be very helpful. I was thinking too about with competition, and I think a lot of parents and adults can fall into this, and I've seen this a lot again with like social media and what are we portraying and that sort of thing, that a lot of young parents can often fall into almost when they become parents, this like competitive nature of like, okay, this is what we're doing for our baby and this and that. And it becomes this, again, this area of, oh, wait, well, like I'm not doing that. So I must not be doing it right. Or, they're doing this, their baby's doing that, or their kid's doing that. And I must not be doing it right. When again, it's like, God has a plan and a way for each of us to be. We're not all meant to be the same. We're absolutely meant to be different and live our different lives. But we can support each other through the way we do things differently and like appreciate those characteristics.